Hello all, welcome to yet another live session of Narayana IAS Academy. So as all of you know, this is Sureka Bhaskar here to present the daily news analysis, and of course for today's discussion we've picked up very important articles from the Hindu as well as the Indian Express that happen to be extremely important and relevant for the UPSC CSE examination. So as our daily ritual, let's kickstart our discussion with today's motivation. So what is actually written behind me here is that every 1 minute. Okay, so what is written here is every morning you have two choices. One is continue to sleep with your dreams or to wake up and chase your dreams. So what does this mean? That is, continue sleeping is nothing but you are just having your aspirations in your dreams and it is in your imagination. So it actually signifies inaction. Whereas if you wake up and chase them, what happens? You are actually going to put your aspirations into reality. That is, you are going to activate your dreams and achieve success ultimately. Okay, so this rightly suits all of us, whether you're a working professional or whether, especially when you are an aspirant, when you dream of becoming a bureaucrat, you actually have to put your steps forward and act in the reality or in the present. Okay, so having said this, let's actually move forward to see we at Narayana IAS Academy, what have we actually got for you people for the UPSC or upcoming prelims examination. Okay, so let us actually see that. We have a 1-year prelims cum mains integrated course for the 2026 examination and also a 2-year prelims cum mains integrated course for the 2027 examination, and the total number of hours of instruction will be around 1000 plus hours, where 800 exclusive hours will be given for your general studies and the remaining 200 plus hours will be given for your current affairs. Okay, so here this actually covers, it is very holistic, it is a comprehensive 360-degree coverage. It actually covers the three stages of your examination, that is your preliminary, the mains as well as your interview stage of the examination. Okay, and it also ensures time efficient learning. And as I told you, we will actually provide you, apart from the other materials for your study, we provide a strategic micro schedule, which is nothing but it is a daily study plan that actually offers you, that is, it actually gives you optimization of time. Okay, so here it will actually ensure that you are organized and you are going in the right pace when compared to that of your competitors. Okay, and now all these things will actually be brought to you by our expert faculty who have actually cleared the preliminary, mains as well as gone to the interview stage of the examination. And also, in order to give you regular feedback, we have our testing mechanisms in the form of the test series, and accordingly we will actually mentor you and also give you personalized feedback so that you can introspect on whatever you've actually done wrong in the previous test and improve yourself significantly. Okay, so having said this, let us actually look at the topics that we've actually picked up for today's discussion. Okay, so the first topic for the day, the first topic for the day has been picked up from the Hindu, page number 8. Okay, so this tells prescribe preventive medicine for a healthy India. Okay, so today actually happens to be World Health Day, that is April 7th actually is marked as the World Health Day. So on this day we are actually going to take a look on the significant strides India has made in its health journey, how transformative it has actually been. So however transformative it has been, there are certain gaps or certain hurdles that the India's healthcare system and infrastructure actually faces. Okay, so what are all the strategies that India has to adopt in order to plug all these loopholes or the gaps is what we will be discussing here. So India's healthcare journey, so this will actually be your mains article. So we will also go through what are all the different schemes and what are the outcomes of the schemes and what are the significant observations and the study that have been made by WHO, UNICEF, etc. in controlling this malnutrition, in controlling hunger, in integrating this particular sanitation as well as health. So this is what we'll be seeing. So this is actually a combination of 4 to 5 articles that have been picked up from the Hindu editorial section. Okay, now moving forward, The second article is the new Pamban Bridge, an engineering wonder that has actually been recently inaugurated by the Prime Minister of India. So we will actually look at what is the significance of the Pamban Bridge that was already existing and what has been the engineering upgradation or the technical upgradation of the new Pamban Bridge is what we will see, and how it is actually significant for the refugees, how it has been in those times during the Sri Lankan civil war, how it has actually helped in boosting tourism as well as the religion, as well as we will be looking into how it has been a maritime link between India as well as Sri Lanka. Okay, so this is actually going to be your prelims article, and also for mains it's important for your infrastructure section under economy. Okay, GS paper 3. Now moving forward, the third article has been picked up from page number 10 of the Hindu. Can the US president serve a third term? So this particularly talks about what are all the constitutional provisions with respect to the United States, whether a person who is actually serving for the second term as the president, for example Mr. Donald Trump, can continue for his third term, that is the next for the next 5 years. So what is this 22nd constitutional amendment that has actually been made, and whether according to that constitutional amendment can a president actually serve for the third term, is it allowed or not, or it is barred, and also what are the legal loopholes in this we will actually see, and also we will make a comparison of the presidential system with the parliamentary system which India actually has, because India is a parliamentary democracy, and we will also see what are the powers and the tenure security of the prime minister, whether there is an upper limit on the number of years where Mr. Modi can actually serve as the prime minister is what we will look over here. So it's basically the comparison of both the constitutions and the powers that the top heads of both the countries actually have. Okay, so this is also going to be a preliminary article discussion, and the final article for the day has been picked up from page number 13 of the Hindu. Modi launches Indian aided railway projects on the last day of Sri Lanka trip. So recently you've actually seen in yesterday's DNA discussion also we would have discussed between the recent memorandum of understandings that have been signed between India and Sri Lanka, and we would have actually come across the terms like defense and what are the memorandum of understandings, that is a MOU signed in terms of defense, agriculture, energy, connectivity, etc. So in that context we can also see that the prime minister has launched Indian aided railway projects in Sri Lanka. Okay, so here apart from discussing about these projects, we will also be discussing about the key areas of cooperation between India and Sri Lanka, how it started, how it transcended over time, and currently what is the status, and also we'll be discussing about the other issues that India and Sri Lanka face with respect to each other, like you can see the China's FDI, that is the foreign direct investments, where it is actually taking for lease the ports, etc., which is a threat to all the other countries, especially for India, as Sri Lanka is a neighborhood. So all this we'll be seeing, and also we will be discussing about the Sagar initiative of India as well as India's neighborhood first policy. Okay, so we will be discussing about all this. So this is also going to be a preliminary discussion. Okay, so after discussing all this, we will be solving a mains answer, and also we will be discussing what are the questions that have been taken up yesterday during the DNA's discussion. So now let us actually start with the first article. The first article for the day: Prescribe Preventive Medicine for a Healthy India. Okay, so here, as I told you, we are going to discuss about the journey that India has had so far with respect to that of the health. Okay, so India's health journey, as well as here we'll be discussing also the non-communicable diseases, that is the NCDs, as well as we'll be looking at what is this concept of preventive healthcare. Okay, so prevention is better than cure is what it is. So basically it is nothing but changing the mindset of the people, that is before you are actually prone to any kind of a disease, it is always better to actually have a healthy lifestyle, or better to have an open defecation free village. Okay, but because of which all the Swachh Bharat mission, and then providing water connectivity to increase the productivity of women, we have the Jal Jeevan mission, etc., have come forth, and let us see what have been the performances and the outcome of such schemes. Okay, so here this particular topic becomes important for the GS paper 2 discussion, that is the mains, issues relating to the development and the management of social sector services relating to health, and others actually include education, etc. Now moving forward, if you see, health has been a very important topic. So in 2018 we have a mains question, that is appropriate local community level healthcare intervention is a prerequisite of the in order to achieve health for all in India. Okay, so these kind of themes will be given: health for all, or health for women, so health for the vulnerable sections, health for the disabled. All this can actually come in your examination. And also one more important thing is to understand about the healthcare infrastructure in India. You need to look into the different reports that have been given by the ICMR, the WHO, etc., in order to quote in your mains answers. Now, let's move forward and see what is this article talking about. So, as India actually observes or celebrates the World Health Day, that is on 7th of April 2025, this actually gives us immense opportunity to see how the nation has actually taken strides in its healthcare transformation. Okay, and we need to identify what are all the persisting gaps despite the developments, and also explore the strategies in order to build a very healthy and a resilient society. So this is what we'll be discussing in this particular article. So let's quickly move forward and see. So health has always been a cornerstone of development, right? So it has been a cornerstone of human development and national prosperity. India actually aspires to become a Viksit Bharat. What does that mean? It is nothing but a developed economy or a developed country by the year 2047. And also it aspires to become a $5 trillion economy. Okay, so in order to achieve this aspiration, what should be done? Significant amount of investments have to be done in health as well as sanitation. Okay, so this is not only what to say, it is a moral imperative for us, and also it is a strategic necessity. Okay, and also India has taken significant steps through different programs, etc., in reimagining this public health. Okay, and how it is done? By integrated approaches. What do you mean by integrated approaches? By integrating two different sectors, that is sanitation is linked with health. Okay, and this is actually achieved through flagship programs like the Swachh Bharat Mission, the Jal Jeevan Mission, as well as the Ayushman Bharat Mission, the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, and so on. Okay, so this actually shows, that is, these flagship programs actually shows how infrastructure or how some kind of behavioral changes and technology can actually shape a healthier or a more equitable future. Okay, so this is what is your India's health strides. Okay, next. Now let's see what are the key dimensions of India's healthcare journey. What has been India's achievements, what have been the challenges, and what can be the road forward. The first one, let us see health and sanitation. See, health was earlier seen as a different segment or a different dimension, where the sanitation was actually seen as a different genre. But now what are they trying to say? These are two sides of the same coin, that is integration of health as well as sanitation has to be done, is what they are saying. And one such initiative that was actually brought forward was the Swachh Bharat initiative. So this was initially launched in 2014 in order to achieve open defecation free India. Okay, that is, rather than to open defecate, you need to bring a behavioral change. So eventually what happened? It became a people led movement. Okay, where it prioritized the behavioral change and using the toilets and the clean toilets with dignity and intergenerational equity. Okay, so when it actually was practiced for about 5 years, in 2019 India declared itself as open defecation free, and this was well ahead of our SDG 2030 target, that is SDG 6.2 with respect to sanitation. Okay, so according to WHO and other agencies, what are the observations that this particular Swachh Bharat mission has actually done is that WHO says this has prevented 3 lakh diarrheal deaths, okay, from the period of 2014 to 2019. And also, as per UNICEF, the ODF families, that is open defecation free families, it actually were able to save, these families were able to save around 50,000 rupees annually. And also there were environmental benefits, that is 12.7 times lower groundwater contamination. If there is feces in the open ground, what happens? The percolation through the soil, and thereby the groundwater contamination was very high. However, through this regulated open defecation or using the toilets by behavioral change, this also reduced the groundwater contamination. Okay, that is what was seen. And also the nature study in 2024, this has actually reduced or prevented 60,000 to 70,000 child deaths yearly to because of improved sanitation. Okay, so this is actually the health and sanitation, that is two sides of the same coin. Next one, Jal Jeevan Mission, which actually focuses on water for life. Okay, so what was the major objective? Jal Jeevan Mission was a scheme that was launched in 2019, and this actually aimed at providing the water or tap water to every rural household. Okay, so now what happens when the water is provided to you at your house? This actually reduces the time that women spend in fetching water. Okay, and also if you actually see a Nobel laureate's work or the research, it found out that 30% of the infant deaths can be prevented with safe water access. And also according to WHO, this also averted or prevented around 4 lakh diarrheal deaths annually. And there has been an SBI research, this increased the female workforce participation. So now they are able to come and contribute their labor to proper economic growth because their time in the water fetching was actually reduced. And finally, 80% of the rural households today actually have the tap connection. So this has increased the productivity as also the health outcomes. Okay, so first we actually saw Swachh Bharat mission and the outcomes. Now we saw Jal Jeevan mission as well as the outcomes. Now moving forward, let us see the integrated models. Okay, so this integrated model, one such is the Swachh Sujal Gaon. Okay, so this integrates, as the name says, the hygiene and the health is actually integrated with sanitation. Okay, so sanitation, hygiene, clean water at the village level is actually integrated. So here what happens, how many villages because of this are having a proper solid management system? How many of them are having a liquid waste system? Is that 5 lakh villages are having solid waste management, 5.23 lakhs have liquid waste management. And here you'll be very surprised to see that women are leading this initiative. Okay, so women are at the forefront, where about 2.48 million women are trained as water testers, and they manage the self-help groups involved in the sanitation assets and other eco-friendly product manufacturing. Okay, so this is what is the Swachh Sujal Gaon. Now moving forward, let us see preventive healthcare, a strategic imperative. So first we actually saw integration of health as well as sanitation. So first one was integration of health and sanitation. Next we will move into looking at preventive healthcare. Okay, what do you mean by preventive healthcare? Here, if you see, India is actually characterized, right, India is called as the diabetes capital of the world. So diabetes is actually a non-communicable disease. Okay, so NCD burden in India of late has been very high. Okay, so it actually includes problems like your asthma, and then it includes your heart problems, diabetes, etc. These are all called your non-communicable diseases. Okay, if you see, the non-communicable disease is also called as the silent epidemic. Okay, so it includes diseases like diabetes, cancer, stroke, etc. And this is responsible for 2/3 of the overall deaths in India. And also if you see, 22% of the Indians who are over 30 years of age, they are actually at a higher risk of having the NCDs, and this is costing the economy also a lot, which is actually about 5 to 10% of the GDP. And also if you see the observations that have been made by the World Economic Forum, the economic cost that the NCDs is actually costing all over the world is around 3 to 4 trillion dollars of loss. Okay, due to NCDs, it is actually projected to be there by 2030. Next one, what can be the solutions? We need to prevent these non-communicable diseases. Even obesity is a part of NCDs. Okay, how can actually this be prevented is by lifestyle as well as behavioral changes. That is, we need to move from a sedentary lifestyle to a more active lifestyle. For example, 80% of the premature NCD deaths can be avoided by healthy habits. Okay, so here you need to promote your physical activity at least 30 minutes a day, and consume healthy food and not consume the ultra processed foods. That is one. And also reduce your tobacco as well as the alcohol consumptions. Okay, so this will prevent your heart diseases. Next one, also air pollution. If you see, the air quality index in Delhi and all has been increasing at an alarming rate, right? So these kind of air pollution related deaths, that is which causes around 1.6 million deaths in 2019, this actually should be treated as a health emergency. And also we need to do what to say, preventive screenings like mammograms. What do you mean by mammograms? This is nothing but taking X-ray of your chests or the breasts, I would say, of women in order to see any kind of cancer development. Okay, that is breast cancer. And also the HPV test. This is nothing but human papilloma virus. Okay, so this is responsible for causing your cervical cancer. So this should also be taken in order to detect these diseases at a curable stage itself before it advances, okay, of being at a very dangerous stage. Okay, now let us actually move technology and AI. How technology and artificial intelligence can actually reduce these or prevent these NCDs is that we have the what to say, machine learning. Okay, so MLs, this will show even early detection of lung diseases, whether we have fatty liver or not, or any kind of cancer that is actually present in our body. And also there are different AI tools, okay, and these can generate health risk scores, okay, so that we can actually see about our diabetes conditions as well as the cardiac events. Okay, however, ethical use of artificial intelligence, okay, cyber security and digital inclusion is very critical in India, is what the second dimension actually says. So what are the different digital health innovations? So let us actually see. India is actually leveraging its digital infrastructure. Everything is actually going digital in order to expand this particular preventive healthcare. Okay, so India actually has a huge base of smartphone users, where around 750 million actually are using smartphones. So here you can easily provide the healthcare services to them. Okay, and also you have wearables like your digital watch as well as health trackers. This actually helps a real time tracking of the conditions and monitoring. Also, we have the Ayushman Bharat digital mission as well as the e-Sanjeevani portal, and this has actually enabled teleconsultations also, where the doctors can connect with you through the um, what did I say? I'm sorry, I was just lost here. So the doctors can actually connect with you virtually, and they can actually give you medications or prescribe whatever are the suitable medicines for your ailments. Okay, so now moving forward, the third one, bridging the gaps in healthcare access. So first we integrated healthcare with that of hygiene and sanitation, the Swachh Bharat mission, the Jal Jeevan mission, etc. Next one, we were looking at preventive healthcare, where we actually focused on prevention better than cure, like the non-communicable diseases, etc. The third one is bridging gaps in healthcare access. Okay, so how do we do that? There are a lot of gaps that is actually prevalent in rural India. We have almost 70 to 75% of the total population living. However, there is oddly 30% of the medical support which is actually present there. So that actually has to be addressed. There is shortage of infrastructure. There is shortage of human resources, that is the staff, the nurses, the doctor, and then you can say the patient to bed ratio is actually very poor, because WHO gives a particular standard, whereas Indian standards are way below that particular standard. Okay, so first one, 70% of the population are in the rural areas. whereas we have only 35 to 40% of the health infrastructure. What are the issues? As I told you, the shortage, the lack of diagnostics, as well as irregular medicine supply. Also, strengthen the public health investment, that is the amount of budget or the expenditure that the government is going to spend on the health has to be high, whereas it is a very sad state that 2025-2026 had actually allocated only 1.97% of the total budget, not even 2%. That is why what happens, the out of pocket expenditure of people actually push them into poverty every year. So it pushes around 55 million Indians into poverty every year. Next one, the targeted interventions. Okay, so now we have to expand the health as well as the wellness centers under the Ayushman Bharat for primary care, and also you have to increase the number of medical professionals in the tier 1, the tier 2 and the tier 3 towns, and also address the digital divide so that they are also accessible to this teleconsultations and the telemedicine. Okay, so these are the key dimensions. Now let us actually see here India's healthcare gaps. First one, hospital beds for 1,000 people, where the WHO says for 1,000 people at least 5 beds should be available, whereas India's is only 0.5. The doctors for 1,000 people should ideally be at least 1, but we have only 0.7. And the nurses for 1,000 people should be at least 3, whereas India has only 1.7. That is half and half, right? Next one, the public expenditure on healthcare should be at least 5% of the GDP, but very sadly, it is only 1.28% of the GDP. However, the Union Budget 25-26 had actually given 1.97% of the budget or allocation. Okay. Now, moving forward, the fourth one is, first one we integrated, again I am repeating, integration of, you had the health and sanitation. Next one, there was preventive healthcare, where we focused on the NCDs by changing our lifestyle behavior, and behavioral changes were there. And then there was actually what? The accessibility was actually increased, and the final one is focus on the maternal as well as the child nutritional and mental health. Very important. Okay, so this World Health Day actually has a theme, that is healthy beginning and hopeful future. So this also enables us, or it actually pushes us to focus more on the maternal as well as the newborn care. Okay, now the programs are there, such as Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. This actually gives financial protection to so many million beneficiaries, especially women over here. And however, there have been gaps in these healthcare delivery. Okay, this is what is the observation of the article as well. And finally, we need to focus on malnutrition and anemia. Okay, so you know what is malnutrition and anemia, right? So that is why we actually have Poshan Abhiyan as well as the ICDS integrated child development scheme. So all these things are actually there. These are very crucial, but better data tracking as well as community involvement must actually be there. Stakeholder integration actually has to be there, because India suffers from a lot of malnutrition problem like stunting, wasting and women being anemic. Okay, that is 35% of the children under the age of 5 are stunted, not required growth. Next one, 57% of the women are anemic. And also we actually have mental health crisis, where 14% of the Indians suffer from mental disorders. That is why Supreme Court has also asked for establishment of task force to deal with this particular mental health care, to prevent specifically the suicides among students after the recent suicide cases that actually came up in IIT Delhi in 2023. And also 150 million people require active intervention of mental health issues. Okay, now moving forward, health begins at home. So this is actually just what is a conclusion that you have to provide in case you're writing answer. So hospitals alone are not responsible for curing your diseases. Okay, so what are they saying? It is nothing but hospitals alone cannot ensure well-being. True health begins with when a toilet actually ensures your dignity, when the clean water is accessible to you and it is actually present in order to prevent your disease. There are community driven models that empower women, technology that can predict your diseases and diagnostics. Next one, policies that can provide equity. What is equity? Providing somebody with whatever they require than the person who has much of it. Okay, that is equity. Equality is providing everyone with the same set of amenities. Okay, so this is equity, resilience and preventive care. If all that is done, the India that we are actually dreaming of, that is this Viksit Bharat and a 5 trillion economy, will definitely be achieved. Okay, so this is what this particular article is speaking about. So we actually had a holistic coverage of the entire topic on health, right? So this is what. Now let's move forward and look at a second article, New Pamban Bridge and Engineering Wonder, Prime Minister. So this Pamban Bridge actually was commissioned in the year 1914 itself. Okay, so that was during the British rule itself. It got commissioned. I'm not able to write it here. 1914, its commissioning actually took place. So this was to enhance the trade between the mainland India. Then you had the Rameswaram island, and from there the eastern tip of Rameswaram is called Dhanushkodi. Okay, and from there to have maritime trade with Sri Lanka. So this was what the aim when the Britishers established this particular Pamban Bridge. Okay, so here we will discuss alongside the map, and we'll also talk about the Park Strait and the Gulf of Mannar, etc. So this is actually your Pamban Bridge, and this is important for both your prelims and the mains examination, specifically under GS paper 3 economy. And here we will be discussing about infrastructure. Okay, so this is infrastructure. Now let us actually move forward and see the previous year question that was asked in 2021. Investment in infrastructure is extremely essential for rapid and inclusive economic growth, discussed in the light of India's experience. So you need to know what are all the infrastructural investments that the Indian government has made and how it has actually significantly improved, or it has doubled the economic growth. Okay, now moving forward, what is the context? The Prime Minister recently inaugurated the new Pamban Bridge. So let's directly move into the basics. So the original Pamban Bridge, as I told you, was commissioned in 1914 during the British rule in order to facilitate trade as well as transportation between India and Sri Lanka, or India and Ceylon, which is now called as Sri Lanka. Here what happened? The ships actually operate. So this will be example, if this is Tamil Nadu. Okay, so here somewhere we have Rameswaram Islands. So from the tip is actually Dhanushkodi, and from here this is Sri Lanka. Okay, so here ships operate between this Dhanushkodi and Talai Mannar. Okay, Talai Mannar is over here in Sri Lanka. So ships used to operate between these two regions, which is a link in the Indo-Ceylon maritime as well as the railway network. Also, this played a very important role in pilgrimage travel also, because Rameswaram Island is known for the Ramanatha Swami temple, which is one of the 4 Char Dham pilgrimage sites in Hinduism. So what are the remaining 3? Remaining 3 are Badrinath of Uttarakhand, Dwarka, Gujarat, and finally Puri, Jagannath Puri in Odisha. Okay, so this is what is the old Pamban Bridge. So you can actually see the bridge over here. It is a, you can see the bridge. It is a connectivity. Okay, so this is what it is between Tamil Nadu, or you can say the mainland of India, to the Rameswaram Island. The Rameswaram Island is also called as the Pamban Island. Okay, so this is what it is. Now moving forward, if you see, it also served as a critical route for the Sri Lankan refugees during the civil war. So there was civil war that was actually going on in Sri Lanka, so which actually happened from around the period of 1987, and it still went on till 2009. So that time what happened? People actually moving out of Sri Lanka, they actually used this as a path. So the refugees actually used as a path. This was nothing but it was a crisis between the government of Sri Lanka versus the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, that is the LTTE, where the Tamil Eelams actually wanted to establish a separate Tamil state in the north and the eastern part of this particular island, that is the Sri Lankan island, because of which the government actually restricted it. And then what happens, there was retaliation by LTTE, and so there was a civil crisis over there. So this is the story. So now let us see this one. So here you can see the Pamban Bridge, right? This one. This is the Pamban Bridge. This is Tamil Nadu, or you can say mainland India. And this is the Pamban Bridge. This is your Rameswaram Island. And here we have Dhanushkodi, that is the southernmost tip of Rameswaram. And the trade link actually used to be between what? India as well as Sri Lanka. Okay, and here Sri Lanka, where do we have the trade link with? Talai Mannar, which is actually present over here in Sri Lanka. And the connectivity between Dhanushkodi and here is the Ram Setu, now which is actually a submerged land. However, bridging or construction of a bridge has actually been prohibited in this area right now. Okay, so this has been the old Pamban Bridge. Now let's come to the new Pamban Bridge, which has been inaugurated recently by the Prime Minister. So it is India's first vertical lift sea bridge. What do you mean by vertical lift sea bridge? This is nothing but a movable bridge design. Okay, so here there will be a bridge, and the central span of the bridge can actually raise above in order to allow the ships and the boats to actually pass through. Okay, so this is actually a movable bridge design, and it is India's first such movable bridge design is what they say. Okay, I'm not able to write here. Here also, yeah, it is a movable bridge design that, and this bridge actually connects the Rameswaram island to the mainland of India, to be very specific, the Ramanathapuram district of Tamil Nadu, over the Park Strait. Okay, in the next map we will actually see what is the Park Strait. That is, here you have Tamil Nadu and here you have the Rameswaram island, and here it is actually a strait. This is called as Park Strait, and here it is the Gulf of Mannar, which actually separates India and Sri Lanka. Okay, so this is what it is. Now again you need to know what is the difference between a strait as well as a gulf and isthmus, etc. So this is what it is, and here this is going to be an automated vertical lift span. Okay, how it is going to lift is that by using electromechanical systems. That is what they are going to do, and here they actually rise up to 22 meters. Okay, 22 meters, and the old bridge was capable of providing only 19 meters of clearance to the ships to pass. So this is again an upgradation, and also there will be double line electrification, and it is able to provide faster as well as efficient train services between the two places, that is mainland of India as well as the Rameswaram island. Now moving forward, you can see this, right? This is the old bridge and this is the new. So here it used to raise only up to 19 meters. Why am I not able to write? But here you can see it can actually lift up to 22 meters. Again, I'm not able to write on the image. So here it is 22 meters it can rise. Okay, this is what it is. So now let us actually move forward. This is the new one and this is the old bridge. Okay, now let's move forward to see the structural design of this particular bridge. Okay, so here the length is around 2.08 kilometers. The height is 3 meters higher than the older bridge. Okay, and this also provides the smaller as well as the bigger ships to pass. Okay, so allowing the smaller ships to pass without lifting the span. So you need not even lift, the smaller ships will pass. If there are bigger ships, it will actually rise high. Next, it has a dual track design in order to accommodate double railway tracks. Next one, the durability. How is it actually durable? There is huge humidity and salt content. So what happens if the bridge is constructed by using iron? There will be huge corrosion. Specifically for the climate conditions across the parkway, what happens? There will be excessive corrosion. But what is going to sustain it is built with stainless steel reinforcements, and there is a particular kind of paint that is used, that is nothing but polysiloxane. Okay, very important. This ensures corrosion resistance in harsh conditions. Next one, this is supposed to stay or be durable for around 58 years, and the load capacity can handle heavy freight trains and semi high-speed trains even like the Vande Bharat Express. And this new structure will be handling the transportation services hereafter, whereas the older Pamban Bridge will be preserved as a heritage or a monument. Okay, so this is what the news actually talks about. Now, let's move forward. 1 minute, there's some problem here. Sure. Yeah, now let's continue. There was a small glitch in between. That's why there was a pause in the video. So now let us continue and look at what is this Pamban Island about. Okay, so this is a very small island over here. Okay, so this is actually called as your Pamban or the Rameswaram Island. And here is actually your Pamban Bridge between which connects Tamil Nadu, or you can say the mainland India, to this particular the Rameshwaram Island. And here you actually have this Ram Setu, and here is actually Sri Lanka, and trade used to happen from the southernmost tip, that is what? The southernmost tip is called Dhanushkodi, to this particular place in Sri Lanka. Okay. So here let us see the Pamban Island. It is located in the Ramanathapuram district of Tamil Nadu, and it lies between the mainland India and Sri Lanka in the Park Strait. So you can see this is your Park Strait. Okay, and it is around 30 kilometers long and it is 2.7 kilometers wide. So these are the dimensions. Not very important, but you need to know the terrain. This is very flat as well as sandy, and then there is actually a mountain that is called as the Mount Gandhamadana. This is actually the highest point. Okay, Gandhamadana. Okay, next one, formation. How was it actually formed? It is formed by the fluvio-marine and the aeolian deposits. This is nothing but the sand deposits or dune sand as well as the red sands, you can say, and geologically fragile, and it is coastal in nature. The demographics, if you see, lesser than 1 lakh population actually are over here, and these details are from the census 2011. And then you can see the main town is Rameshwaram. The sex ratio, all this is not important, but however, there are 969 females per 1000 males. And then the literacy rate around 73.36. Literacy is very high. Next, agriculture. Since it's the soil of the aeolian deposits or something, here cultivation is actually not ideal, that is agriculture or farming cannot be done. However, the cultivation includes coconut, palm, betel leaves as well as jasmine, and fishing is however the primary occupation over here. It has a lot of cultural significance. As we saw, it has the Ramanatha Swami temple, which is one of the Char Dhams. The others also we saw, right? Puri and Badrinath, etc. Next one, it is associated with the legends of Ramayana, thereby enhancing the pilgrimage and the tourist value. And this is actually connected to the mainland via the new Pamban Bridge or the Pamban Bridge. So these are the details about the Pamban Island. Now let's move forward. Can the US president serve a third term? Let me break this down very simple. See, every country, certain countries, not every country, most of the countries actually have a constitution, and only according to the laws and the amendments to the constitution, the tenure, the service, and then sometimes the what to say, the allowances, the salaries, the privileges are all actually fixed only by the constitution. So similarly, US also has the constitution, and according to the constitution, there has been a 22nd constitutional amendment that was actually made, that says that no person can serve as the president for more than a 2-year term. That is, one term is 5 years and two terms is actually 10 years. Whether it is consecutive or after a break, you can for a maximum serve as a president of the United States only for 2 terms and not beyond that. Okay. But however, if you see a parliamentary democracy like India, we do not have any such specifications. The head, that is the prime minister, can serve any number of terms unless and until the no confidence motion is actually passed in the parliament. So that is what we are going to compare and contrast over here. So we will be discussing about the 22nd constitutional amendment of the US constitution. This is important for both the prelims as well as for the mains examination, where comparison of the Indian constitution with the other countries is very important. Now moving forward, 1 minute. Yeah, let's move forward. In 2018, there was a question on India and US. These are two large democracies. Examine the basic tenets on which the two political systems are based. Okay. So here, let's see. Recently, the US President, Mr. Donald Trump, he hinted at the possibility of seeking a third term. Okay. So despite, so the constitution does not allow for it, but he has actually, mentioned, or he has given out the statement. So this has actually sparked debates on the US presidential term restrictions and rising global concerns over the executive overreach. So see, there are different ways in which he can become the president. One is by direct elections. So once your direct elections, you finish your 2 years, then you are barred constitutionally from becoming the president. However, there are different loopholes. That is, you can become the vice president and then you can be a president, or through the way of the speaker, you can actually become the president. Or the next one is, you can totally, repel this 22nd constitutional amendment. Okay, so these are the different ways where it's causing a global concern. Let us actually see, because global concern, what these are going to be executive overreaches, okay, and democratic backsliding. So let us actually see what it is. So the historical background is that the president of serving only 2 terms actually began with the president of the United States, that is George Washington. Okay, so after finishing 2 terms, he voluntarily stepped down as the president in the year 1796. However, if you see Franklin D. Roosevelt, okay, so he, FDR, he actually broke this norm of 2-year term and he actually got elected 4 times as the president. Okay, so 4 into 5, 20 years he was actually the president, and this was also due to a lot of volatility in the economy, such as the Great Depression. There was World War II. All this was actually happening. Now this actually led to a constitutional response, because of which the 22nd constitutional amendment was actually passed. Okay, now let us see what it is. So this was actually ratified in the year 1951. Ratified means accepted and made rules upon by majority of the states of the United States. Okay, so ratified in 1951, and it limits the US president to only 2 elected terms, and the person cannot be elected for the office beyond or more than twice. Very important. Even if you see, Barack Obama was there for 2-year term only. Next one, if someone has served as a president for more than 2 years in someone else's office, for example, if person X is a vice president, and due to the absence of the president, he actually served as the president for more than 2 years of time, okay, of the total 5 years. Then what happened? Already he has served more than 2 years, so now he can serve only for one more term. Okay, so he cannot serve beyond that. That is what the next one is actually saying. If someone has served as a president for more than 2 years of another person's term, then they can also be elected only once more. So this is what is the 22nd amendment is actually saying. Next, can a former president serve again via other routes? Yes, direct re-election is actually possible, but more than twice it's constitutionally barred. Next one, legal loopholes are there. As I told you, a former president becoming a vice president and then succeeding as a sitting president. However, this is violative of 22nd Amendment. And also the 12th Amendment prevents a person, it actually tells that you are ineligible to be the president from becoming the vice president. Okay, so these are all the constitution provisions of the United States. Now, if you see, what is the comparative perspective between India and the US, the term limit of the top executive. This is actually the president, and in India it is the prime minister. So here, yes, there is an upper limit on the tenure, that is only 2 terms, whereas here the PM can serve any number of unlimited terms. Okay, that is why we have a parliamentary democracy. Next one, the type of executive: presidential system, parliamentary system, which consists of PM, who is the head of the government, whereas the president is supposed to be a rubber stamp, or you can say a ceremonial head. So the president here is both the head of the state and the government. Here the tenure basis is fixed term, that is 4 years per term. Sorry, if I had told 5 years, then I'm sorry about it. It's 4 years per term. Next one is Lok Sabha. This depends upon the Lok Sabha conference. Otherwise, elections is actually held once in every 5 years. So it's 5 years for India. It's 4 years per term in the United States. Now let's see global trends. Yes, in Russia also, if you see, Vladimir Putin, he extended the term limits. So currently, he can actually serve as the head till 2036. In China, if you see, Xi Jinping, he removed the term limits in 2018 itself. In Turkey also, President Erdogan changed the system to extend the tenure, and Germany, no term limit, and Angela Merkel, she actually served for 16 years, that is from 2005 to 2021. Next one, in UK and Canada, here also the prime ministers have no term limits, and the tenure completely depends upon the parliamentary majority. So this is what is the global trends. Now, why does India have no term limit? Because we actually follow the Westminster parliamentary model, where the tenure of the PM depends upon how long he is actually maintaining the majority in the Lok Sabha. Then no constitutional limit on the number of terms he can actually serve. For example, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the former Prime Minister of India, he served for 17 years from 1947 to 64, and Mr. Modi has so far completed or going to complete has completed 2 full terms. So 2014 to 2024, and is eligible for more also. Okay. So now, moving forward, the last article, India and Sri Lanka had actually signed 7 MOUs, enhanced ties in defense and energy. Okay. So this actually happens to be yesterday's newspaper, but now today we will be talking about the Indian aided railways that the Prime Minister has assured in Sri Lanka. Okay. So India Sri Lanka relations and prelims, it is actually very important, because some kind of questions can be asked as a data fact or something, and in mains it is important from GS paper 2, effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries in the interest of India and Indian diaspora. Now let's actually move forward and see, in respect of in 2013, there was actually a mains question, that is in respect of India Sri Lanka relations, discuss how domestic factors influence the foreign policy. Okay, so let us actually move forward. So PM Modi's recent visit, that is 2025 visit to Sri Lanka, marked a key moment in bilateral ties, and this actually promised Indian aided railway projects. Okay, nothing. They just wanted to focus on improving the infrastructure in Sri Lanka. So that is why India has actually promised to aid it. Okay, financially. So this is what it is telling, and this will also boost what, the cultural, that is people to people ties, as well as the religious connections. Now moving forward. So PM recently inaugurated 2 major railway projects, and this will be supported by the Indian assistance. The first one is a 128-kilometer project, that is the Maho Omanthai railway line. Okay, so this will be refurbished with the Indian funding of about $91.27 million. The second one is launch of an advanced railway signaling system between Maho as well as the Anuradhapura. These are specific points in Sri Lanka itself, which will be funded through $14.89 million Indian grant. Okay, so this is to, that is the main objective, is to modernize Sri Lanka's transport infrastructure, specifically in the northern as well as the central region of Sri Lanka, improving the passenger as well as the mobility of freight across these particular regions. Okay, now let's move forward and see. So this is actually going to be the India Sri Lanka Maritime Boundary Agreement. See this? So these are historic waters, and here only you have already you have Rameswaram over here, and India and Sri Lanka have been having the maritime ties since the Britishers' time itself. We actually saw this. So these are the maritime boundary agreements, which were actually signed in 1974 and 76. Okay, according to this, this is actually the route if you see over here. Okay, so this is the maritime boundary if you actually see over here. Next one. So maritime boundary between India and Sri Lanka were brought through bilateral agreements, I told you, which were signed in 74 and 76. What is the geostrategic proximity? They are just apart by 30 nautical miles, and both the nations are central to the Indian Ocean dynamics. If anything happens over there, both the nations are actually affected. Also, we have ethnic and cultural links because Buddhism has actually spread to Sri Lanka, and we have a significant number of Tamil diaspora actually there in Sri Lanka. So this had created strong people to people link. Next is trade and development. So India, if you see, is one of Sri Lanka's largest trade partners and the top development assistant providers. Okay, so maybe next to China, India is the country which actually provides financial aid, and this also happened during the financial crisis that Sri Lanka went through in 2022. Okay, so now let us actually move forward and see key areas of cooperation. Of course, infrastructure and development projects, India has actually been giving around $4 billion. Okay, so $4 billion from India, and the investment actually goes to, goes to housing, it goes to transportation, it goes to education as well as other projects. Next one, the lines of credit have actually been given in the energy sector in boosting the connectivity as well as agriculture. Also, we have defense and maritime security, where we actually have joint naval exercises like the SLINEX as well as the coastal security assistance. Also, we have what to say, the the counter terrorism as well as anti-piracy and the surveillance of the exclusive economic zone, that is the EEZ. So all this you need to know. What do you mean by the contiguous zone? What do you mean by the baseline? What do you mean by the exclusive economic zone? And what do you mean by the high seas? All that you need to know. Next one, the energy and digital connectivity is also there, where agreement on power grid connectivity we have actually signed, and also there are trilateral project that India has signed with Sri Lanka as well as UAE in order to develop Trikonmali. Trikonmali is nothing but it is a port city which is located in Sri Lanka. Okay, so they are going to develop this as an energy hub. Okay, so all these investments India has actually done with respect to Sri Lanka. And however, there are actually tensions or challenges that persist in Sri Lanka, which actually includes the killing of the fishermen, okay, near the maritime boundary. So this is about the fishing rights that is actually volatile there, and also growing China's influence. China also has excessive FDI, right? That is, it works on development of infrastructure. Specifically, it has taken this Hambantota port on lease, right? So all that actually causes a concern to India. The next one, ethnic as well as the political sensitivities. I told you that there has been civil war in Sri Lanka that has actually started in 1987 and it went on somewhere till 2009. Okay, and here we have the influence of who? The IPKF, that is the Indian Peacekeeping Force. Indian Peacekeeping Force that was actually sent to maintain peace in Sri Lanka, and this was according to the India-Sri Lanka deal, or the accord that was actually signed between the Prime Minister Mr. Rajiv Gandhi as well as Mr. Jayawardene, who was actually the leader of Sri Lanka that time. Okay, so this is what it is. Now, so what happens? India actually has the Sagar vision. Sagar is nothing but it is the security and the growth for all in the particular region. Okay, through that Sagar mission, India actually has its maritime vision. What is the vision? In order to ensure, of course, regional security has to be there. In order to have economic cooperation and sustainable growth in the Indian Ocean region. Also, it emphasizes the cooperation in security and blue economy, and India supports the capacity building in Sri Lanka's Navy and Coast Guard. Next one, if you see, it aims to ensure the freedom of navigation, rule-based maritime order, and finally regional connectivity. See, all these are very basics only. Whatever we have discussed till now are very, very important for you to by heart and remember. And however, you need to know what is the Sagar vision of India. Okay, so this is one. Next one is India's neighborhood policy. So this is the Sagar initiative. This is the Indian Ocean region. Okay, so this is what it is. Next one. If you see neighborhood first policy, India's foreign policy first of all prioritizes India's neighborhood, especially the immediate neighborhood. We have Pakistan, then we have Bangladesh, we have Sri Lanka, etc. Okay, so we focus on that, especially our South Asian neighbors, where Sri Lanka is actually a priority partner under this particular doctrine. That's why we've been given financial aid as well as assistance to them. That includes the $4 billion aid that we actually gave during its sovereign default. Okay, when the country defaulted and had an economic crisis, we sent an aid. Also, we provide project-based assistance, and this actually shows how much India is committed or views Sri Lanka as its strategic partner under India's what to say, the neighborhood first policy. Now let us quickly solve a mains approach question. So it reads, health and sanitation are the two sides of the same coin. Okay, so health and sanitation happen to be the two sides of the same coin. In the context of India's recent flagship program, examine how sanitation, clean water and the preventive health measures in reshaping public health outcomes. So here we've actually spoken about the health, right? So what does it actually say here? We'll actually have to start. India, if you see, it is just a minute. Okay. So here we'll actually have to start that. Don't look at this one. This particular introduction is not right. So here India's health or India has made significant strides in the healthcare domain, especially the primary healthcare, as well as focusing on the maternal healthcare, the childbirths, and focusing on all the parameters like the maternal mortality MMR, as well as the infant mortality rate, etc. Okay. However, there are certain gaps that are actually there where India has mainly missed out on integrating hygiene as well as sanitation, because they play an important role as two sides of the same coin. Okay, this is what will be your introduction. The next one, you will talk about integration, how it has happened through flagship programs like the Swachh Bharat mission, the Jal Jeevan mission, what were the outcomes, how much of diarrheal deaths it actually prevented. Okay, all that you need to talk about. Next one, moving forward, you will discuss about the Sujal and Swachh Gaon model. This is nothing but all the initiatives that we have actually spoken, which integrated the healthcare as well as the sanitation. Okay, and also the preventive health measures, where you talk about the Ayushman Bharat digital mission, how AI and technology can play an important role in diagnostics, how NCDs can be prevented by behavioral changes as well as the lifestyle standards. All that you need to discuss here. And in the conclusion, we'll have to talk about India's integrated approach. This reflects that we are totally changing from reactive to preventive healthcare, which is very, very important in order to achieve the Viksit Bharat, where India actually is going to become a developed country by 2047 and also become a 5 trillion economy. Okay, so this is what it is. Now moving forward, let us actually solve the MCQs that were asked yesterday. So with reference to the road safety in India, Consider the following statements. So what does the first statement say? National highways constitute less than 5% of the total road length, but account for over half of the fatalities. Yes, this is correct. The next one, the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act of 2019 provides for the constitution of a National Road Safety Board. Yes, this is also correct. Then Bharatmala Pariyojana aims to remove all the black spots on national highways. No, this actually focuses on logistics. Okay, so the third statement is wrong. So since the third statement is wrong, this becomes wrong, this becomes wrong, this becomes wrong. So only 1 and 2. So your answer is A. Okay. So this I think is 2%. Okay. So let us actually see what is the correct answer. Yes, it is national highways comprise 2% of the total road length, but account for over 60% of the road fatalities. Okay. So this is what it is. Now moving on to the next question. With reference to the recent developments in India-Sri Lanka relations, consider the following. India and Sri Lanka signed an umbrella agreement to enhance cooperation in the defense sector. Yes, this is correct. That was what the MOU was all about. Next one. Trikonmali, I told you it's a port city and is being developed as an energy hub with assistance from India and UAE. Yes, it is correct. And India has extended financial assistance to Sri Lanka by converting a part of its loan into grants. Is this correct? You need to tell me. And India and Sri Lanka have agreed to jointly manage the Hambantota port. No, it's not India and Sri Lanka. It is China. So this is wrong. So this is correct. Okay. So 1, 2 and 3 are correct where 4 is wrong. So here also the answer will be option A. Now let's move on to the third one. Consider the following statements with respect to the Ream naval base, which is recently seen in the news. Okay. So it is located between 1 minute. Just give me a minute. Just allow me a minute to open the question. Yeah, let us actually solve this. So, consider the following statements with respect to the Ream naval base, which is actually recently seen in the news. It is located in Cambodia. Is it located in Cambodia? Yes, it is actually located in Cambodia's southern coast along the Gulf of Thailand. Okay, so this is actually correct. So, the first statement is correct. Next, if you see, the base has been developed exclusively for the use of the United States Navy. Is this correct or wrong? Next one, its location provides strategic access to the South China Sea. Okay. So here, if you actually see, this is wrong. This is actually correct. It provides strategic access to the South China Sea. So 1 and 3 become correct. Again, your correct answer will be option A. Okay. So the next one is with reference to the aquaculture in India. Okay. So the question is on aquaculture. Let's see. India is the world's largest producer of shrimps and prawns. Is India the largest producer? No, India is not the largest producer. So you have to mention in the comment section which is the largest producer of prawns and chips. India is not. It is the second largest. Okay. Next one. The black tiger prawn. Okay. The black tiger prawn farming requires a brackish water with controlled salinity levels. Is this correct? Yes, this is correct. And also use of probiotics and phage therapy are recent scientific innovations aimed at reducing the aquaculture related diseases. Yes, this is also correct. So 2 is correct, 3 is correct, 1 is wrong. So this goes away, this goes away. Then the Blue Revolution scheme in India promotes aquaculture and inland fisheries by the Ministry of Rural Development. Is it correct? Is Ministry of Rural Development comes or Ministry of Fisheries and animal husbandry and dairying will come. So here the ministry is wrong. So fourth is also wrong. So 2 and 3 are actually correct. So here your answer will be option B. The next one, these are, yeah, now these are actually the questions that you will actually have to solve from whatever you have taken from today's class. Okay, first one is with respect to the term limits and the executive tenure of the President of the United States. So here you need to solve this on the website, the link of which is actually provided in the comment section below. So please do solve and see how attentive you were. Next one is about the Sagar initiative, and the final one is about the Pamban Island. You need to arrange them in the correct north-south order. So once a question on Japan islands like Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, all that has actually come in the exam. Okay. So with this, we've actually come to the end of our daily news analysis discussion. So for more such videos and interactive sessions, please do like, share and subscribe to Narayana IAS Academy YouTube channel. Thank you.